Hi there, and welcome to the Homestead Education Podcast. Do you have a homestead, farm, or just dream of a rural life? This is a show to help you and your kids grow your own food and grow as a person. I'm your host, Kody Hanner. I'm a homesteader, homeschool mom of 6, and small town enthusiast. I was raised by an old school rancher and blessed by the grace of God to have been exposed to so much of what rural life has to offer. Join me every week to talk about homesteading, homeschooling, and growth with a homestead education. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Homestead Education Podcast. Today I'm here with Steven and Jessalyn Willis from American Water Locators, and I'm so excited to have them on because not only do they have a great business, they're actually local friends of mine too. Hi guys.
Hi.
Hey.
So tell me a little bit more about just kind of the rough what an American Water Locator company does.
Yeah, so
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna stop right there. Just tell me about you guys.
all right. Well, oh geez, I hate talking about myself.
Right? Well, you're on the spot now.
No. So I don't know, we've been married for 20 years. And we had kids. We started having kids right away. And I don't know, for the first 10, 12 years, it was kind of like a hand to mouth type of thing where we paycheck to paycheck, just kind of wasn't very cool. I mean, we had a great life. We were happy. But we started thinking about like, what are our kids going to do? Things just keep getting tougher and tougher. And, one year we decided to not take our income tax and put it towards things we owed on or wanted to get our debt down, because that's what we normally did. One year I just decided, I'm pretty good at this one thing. I'm going to go ahead and try to do it.
Yeah.
And so that was our first like business move, was coffee roasting.
Yeah, which I love your coffee.
Awesome. Yeah. And so yes, I was like, well, we were like, we need something more, because it was really more like it turned into like a hobby business. So it did out, it helped provide food and more clothing and like stuff like that, but it wasn't like a game changer.
Right.
So like 7 years ago, 7 years ago, we decided to purchase some equipment that could locate water in the ground, because I've been helping off and on for the last 20 years doing that type of work, also in the drilling industry. And so we bought our equipment because we knew it worked well. It had a great success rate. And a couple years after I bought it, because when you first start something, it's always slow.
Oh yeah.
So
just getting your advertisement out.
Yeah, getting people to know about you, that type of thing. So I still worked a day job and roasted coffee on the side, and did that on the weekends. And then,
well, I kind of joke that people in our area like all have multiple income streams. So, I mean, I think we have like 5 income streams. So
I call them cookie jars.
Yeah, that's what we cookie jar.
So we took a break actually and went to Guatemala to do some mission work using our technology.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we'd go into remote villages and we would locate water before the other missionaries who were drilling would come through, because they were hitting like, half their wells were dry when they were going into these villages.
Yeah, you probably like cut their costs in half.
Well, we're talking about, because we're talking about donated money and time.
Yeah.
Right.
And like the resources.
It's resources that are donated, and when they're not making the best impact that they can, then there's a problem, right? I mean,
I think that's really amazing, because so many people see mission work as just going in and witnessing to people, and they don't realize that there's so much more that goes into it through services.
Yeah. I mean, water is a necessity. You can't. And most of the countries around the world, they have terrible water situations. They're sick, they're dying. They have to walk hours a day just getting 5-gallon buckets or whatever. It's not like the US where we turn on a tap and good to go.
Yeah.
So
exactly. I mean, it changes their quality of life so much and what they're able to spend their time on too, like health and education and everything.
Yeah, school is a big thing. If the kids are walking 4 hours a day to get water, they're not going to school.
Mm-hmm.
From the bad water, if they get like giardia or something, they're down for another week or two, and they can't leave the house because they're not feeling well. So school,
that affects the whole family.
Yeah, if parents aren't well, then they can't go to work and they can't provide the tortillas and the salt for the table.
They're like bringing home the bacon, bringing home the tortillas.
The tortillas, right?
Exactly.
So
I think I could live off of tortillas. So
we've done it.
My husband, he's always like, I think you're part Mexican. And I'm like, I grew up in California. It's the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We still go back and forth to Guatemala.
Yeah.
We spend a couple weeks there at a time. That type of thing.
That's wonderful.
But after that, so we came back.
Yeah. So we came back and we were gonna move to Montana or Wyoming, really,
or even Texas.
Or Texas.
We weren't sure.
I just got back from Texas. It was 112.
We almost died yesterday.
Sure.
Yeah, it was like 90 something. We were dead.
Yeah, we did SeaWorld in 112 with humidity. Yeah, I'm still recovering, and that was almost a week ago.
Oh my gosh.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was going to a job in Montana, the first time I'd ever been up in this area, and drove through, and I was like, "This is it."
Oh,
and
he was traveling up into this area a lot.
Yeah.
And either Spokane or like up north of Spokane or like through into Montana, and
it's like 2 or 3 trips a month over here.
It was like
for a few days at a time.
And we knew we were moving, so we thought, oh well, I guess that's as good a place.
It's a good central location.
Yeah, so, there's something about this community that once you're here, you're sucked in.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
We came up one time and we were like, "Yep, that's the place."
That's what we said.
That basket. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So once we moved here, I decided not to do a second job, like a normal job. It was like just bite the bullet and do it. Mm-hmm. And we've done well enough. Except for this winter, it was kind of rough. It was a slow winter, so I took a job locally a couple days a week at a Samuel's gas station. So
nice.
What's cool though is I love it because I get to meet my whole community.
Yeah.
Right.
Community store.
It's the only thing around for 15 miles in any direction. So it's everybody meets there.
Yeah.
I like going in there, but and that's we live out in the middle of nowhere where we're all the way on the border.
Yeah.
And so like every year I do those VFW craft shows, which is where I met you guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's my chance to get to meet everybody. I maybe sell one curriculum while I'm there. It's more just a chance to sit and visit with the community. I usually sell more pork there. Like I get people signed up to buy pork for the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's been a nice experience for him, I feel like. And then they started carrying our coffee in their restaurant.
Yeah. In the cafe.
Oh, nice.
So that's been cool.
I love their bacon wrapped meatloaf burgers.
Yeah, lots of people love that.
I've never had one, but it sounds good.
They have really good.
It's good.
Yeah, they are good.
So tell us a little bit about, my original question that I jumped the gun on because I get nerdy and excited. You've talked about water locating, but we want to explain that a little bit more and like how your equipment works and.
Yeah, sure. So a client calls us. They finally find out about us because they've drilled 2 dry wells or whatever.
Which they knew about you in the first place.
Exactly. And I don't, as hard as I try to market, I don't, people just don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
a way to find water, except for if you have a couple of copper rods and you're witching. But we get
you don't use willow sticks? I don't understand.
I was over in Montana, I don't know, a month and a half ago, and this 70-year-old lady, probably 70, she's walking around with me using her willow stick, and it's just, it's a Y shape.
Uh-huh.
And she's like,
I saw a guy do that when I was a kid on our ranch, and I was like, it always stuck with me.
So she says, you should try this. And so she hands me the willow stick. I put it in my hand. She's like, yeah, that's a good firm, grasp on it. And then she's like, okay, just start walking around. I took 2 steps maybe, and the willow stick smacks me in the face. So I was like, it's funny because, like, I don't know, 75% of the calls I get are from people who have had their well witched and still got a dry well. Of course, I don't hear all the success stories, right? I only hear when they don't have water.
Well, and it's one of those things that at one point that probably was the only way, and there's probably some validity to it. But now that we have the technology that we don't have to do it that way, I mean, I hope that's a skill that doesn't get lost, because we may not always have the technology, but I'm so happy that there is a program like you, because even when I did real estate for, several years, I had no clue that was an option.
Yeah. So the way our equipment works is we come in, we put a couple of like 4 ground rods in the ground, and those act as an antenna. And so we connect our computer up to it, and we create a seismic event with like a black powder charge or a really big hammer hitting a plate. And as that wave goes through the ground, if there is water, it releases an electrical signal back to the rods. So seismic wave going down, electrical signal coming back up. And so based on the time travel from the source, we can get an estimated depth, and how big that signal is, we can get an estimated yield.
That's amazing, because now when I was selling a lot of vacant land, that's the first thing that people need to know about, is whether or not there's water. And I mean, vacant land sales are almost exclusively cash sales, and they happen really fast.
Yeah.
So for people to be able to do their due diligence, they only have sometimes days to make a decision. And so, I mean, it was this like frantic search of like wells in the neighborhood and how deep the other wells in the neighborhood were and those types of things. So like, how does your process work? I mean, I know you have you have to like schedule people in, but if somebody's looking to buy land, like how can they expect that to work with you guys?
I run into this quite a bit, actually, a fair bit of times. People are out there, they find a piece of property, they enter into like a contingency, like, I don't know, whatever you call it. It's a prelim.
Like an inspection period.
Sure. And they frantically call me like, oh, I need your help. I need it right now because I have to make a decision on the property. And so if it's local, most of the time I can get out there and get it done for them.
That's wonderful.
But typically, like local would be like North Idaho, over to like Colville, Can area, all the way to Kalispell.
And you've gone further when someone's
I have driven further.
Extra time or whatever, maybe a week out, get further away.
Okay. So but like if you were, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you were on a realtor side or a buyer side, how much time would you suggest people should ask for in their inspection to find out?
I think a 2-week inspection period is pretty good.
Okay. See, it's so helpful to hear things like that when you can actually put that into, like, I don't do real estate anymore, but to be able to educate our listeners.
So I feel like if the seller won't allow you to have 2 weeks, then they're trying to hide something. Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. When you're paying cash, you can do a 2-week inspection and close just a few days later.
Exactly. So it's not like, obviously if you're putting an offer out there, you have the money.
Mm-hmm.
So if it shouldn't matter to them, right? 2 weeks. So I feel like if they're not willing, then they're probably trying to hide something.
Has gone and done there's a few realtors in Spokane or at least one or two that recommend him before people buy. And then it's like, usually we're like, okay, you have 2 weeks until you can get your report, or it will be sooner. But when it's in this situation, we'll try to get it out within a couple of days. We actually went all the way to Olympia, Washington.
Oh, wow.
For someone who was under contract or, getting ready to buy the land. And they waited for us to get there. And then we just did the report within 2 days. So,
typically
you guys do that. There's, I know that like as business owners, we have a certain amount of time that it takes us to do our job, and we have lives and, on down the list, other jobs and stuff. But, when something like that can move forward and help everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're in this to help people like first, right? Have water. It is our livelihood, but most of it's just helping people like get what they need to get.
Yeah.
There's some really good tools. Not everybody needs me either, though. There's really good tools out there. Like Idaho, if you just Google well log, it'll bring up the state's Department of Water Resources, and you can look on there. There's an interactive map. They can zoom into their area. It'll populate the screen with little dots around your location, and you can click on those dots and it'll show you all the well logs. And if it looks like everybody has water,
lots of water,
more than 5 gallons a minute, then you're probably safe. You don't really need me. But if you're in it, you look at those
unless you have like a farm or something.
If you're trying to get 20 gallons a minute and everyone's got, if like 2 people have 20 gallons a minute and the rest of them have 3, you might want to call.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And I mean, I've used that quite a bit, but sometimes even that can be deceiving, because like you look out in Paradise Valley where there's lots of wells, but they're all 700 feet deep.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Washington has the same thing, same tool. Every state has an interactive mapping system with well logs on it. So if it looks sketchy in your area, there's no sense in spending $40,000 or $50,000 on something that's not going to produce water.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fraction of the price, you can call me and have me come out and tell you whether there's water, tell you an estimated depth, and tell you how much you might expect from that well.
So you can actually like say are you talking like how big the well is, or how many gallons per minute you think they'd be able to get?
8 gallons per minute.
Wow. That's amazing.
We're pretty accurate. I mean, there is the off chance that like maybe it's shallow or deeper than I think it is. Or maybe it gets a little more or a little less than I think it'll get. But, if it's something I recommend drilling, you're going to get water.
I mean, it's way better than a shot in the dark. So
yeah,
exactly.
Most drillers will just come out and punch a hole wherever you tell them to punch a hole.
Right?
At the end of the day, it's no sweat off their back, but you still have to pay them.
Yeah. Which, I mean, what's it up to? Like $100 a foot now?
Yeah. 80 to 100, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that can get expensive really fast. I mean, even for a fairly shallow well, because you can't use the groundwater in most places. So, I mean, you're looking at minimum 50 feet down. And so that's still $5,000, but
and that's if
never gonna get one.
Yeah.
So
then you still have to develop the well.
Yeah. You still, that's not including your pump and your piping and your electricity. And
Yeah, that all adds up really fast. And I think a lot of people don't realize that is 2 separate steps and sometimes 2 separate companies.
Yeah.
So you're getting someone out there to drill and then someone to put the pump in and everything. So because, drillers and electricians don't always be in the same place.
Right.
Exactly.
So Do you ever work anything with water quality, or is it
No, not so much.
okay?
We're into doing like filtration systems and stuff, but I don't know. Probably not.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're on that beginning end, I could see where like a pump guy would get into filtration systems, but you're
Yeah.
on the beginning end of that. So, I ran out of questions. See, this is the part that we cut out.
Yeah,
So
I think
what's something I don't know yet? So
I think knowing, like, I mean, we travel a long distance sometimes. We work in Arizona, Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, Oregon, Washington, obviously all of Idaho. But yeah,
oh, that's good. I didn't realize you guys would go that far. Is there not a lot of companies that do what you do, or
they're out there, and some of them have the same technology as us, but a lot of them are drillers that have the technology, but those drillers generally won't leave their 30-mile circumference around where they live.
Right.
okay,
To get their rig,
because they want the work and they don't take their equipment that far. So that totally makes sense.
right? Because if they're not gonna, I mean, they're not gonna go somewhere to locate that they're not gonna drill. They generally don't their zone. So
Yeah.
So I've heard you say a couple times, like, your technology. Is there other types of technology that, I'm sorry that my computer keeps beeping. I don't know why it's doing that.
that's all right.
So yeah, is there other types of technology out there?
There are other types of technology. This is the only one that actually images water that I'm aware of at this point.
Okay.
The other technologies will tell you there's a change in geology. So they can tell you if a layer is porous or not, whether it could hold water, like if you drilled into it, would it produce water? They can tell you that, but they can't see the water itself. So you could be drilling into a porous area like sand, but there could be no water, or a gravel lens and no water. So
okay, so they check like the differences in like density and
yeah, exactly. And so that it doesn't, I mean, there's some success with it, but I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure that ours is the only system that images water itself.
okay. So with that, does yours detect any type of geological, like you can be like, there's water 150 feet down, but it's all rock between here and there, or
so that's a lot of that comes into when I'm doing my research on the area. So the program that we run, I have to feed in data on the backside about the geology. So I look at geological surveys, I look at local well logs, and I get an idea of what's in the ground after I get the data. And I have to change the program on the backside to fit that the best I can. And then it can change what I'm seeing, right? So it's a default setting when I'm collecting the data, but as soon as I put in, like, I don't know, basalt, it'll change what I'm seeing on the screen. So I have to know what's in the ground to spit out an accurate, detailed report.
okay, that's really interesting. So is there like geological reports out there? Are you using like soil surveys, or
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff out there. If you just start Googling, you can get into some of these reports put out by the government, by the geological outfits out there. It's out there.
okay.
Yeah.
So do you see this type of technology becoming more common, or are you planning on expanding, or
I think it, the more I do, the more people know about us. And then I get, you don't know, but I'm going to tell you.
Well, okay.
So like 95% of my work comes from word of mouth.
Yeah.
So if someone's had me out, had great success with what we've done, and they tell everybody they know that needs a well, you should call Steve. And so, yeah, 95% of our work comes from word of mouth.
That's interesting. I can believe that, because it's hard sometimes to advertise for something like that. And in some of the conversations you and I have had, just kind of the realtors and sellers, they're wanting to move so fast. They're not going to be like, hey, let's get a guy out here that's going to give us a yes or no, unless they already know it's a yes. And if they already know it's a yes, they don't need you.
Right. And here's the other problem with that is that some realtors don't want to know, because if they know, they have to say it.
They might lose the sale.
And then they might lose the sale. Right. If I come out and I say there's no water on this property, then I just botched it for them. So, I mean, depends on your realtor. If they're honest and good and actually care about you, do something like this. But if they don't care, they won't say nothing. I've talked to lots of realtors in the area. They all know about me. And none
in this area,
none of them recommend us before buying.
I mean, I know personally, like as a realtor, I would feel bad, like if somebody bought a piece of property and there was no water. And I've been in a situation before where it wasn't water, it was electricity. We were told in the sale there's there's power on the property, and there was a previous well there. So we're like, yeah, there's water or there's power. But I mean, when you're buying a piece of vacant land, you can't, there's a lot of work that would have to go into it to go check and see if there's power. So we moved forward in the sale, and turns out there wasn't power.
Yeah.
And so, they had already bought that. They were living in California at the time. So, they closed out of state, and they came up, and they're practically neighbors of ours at this point. So I was like, they were fine with the extra cost of getting it put in, but I wasn't okay with all of that. It's like, I called in favors to a local electrician and my son, who was working as an electrician at the time, to really bring their costs down, to make sure that, they were only covering the cost of putting in their own electricity, not from the power company and stuff. So, because I feel like that's part of it. Like, these people, they were good clients of mine, and they ended up referring 2 or 3 other people to me. And if I would have just let that go and been like, yeah, sucks for you, should have done your due diligence,
right,
I wouldn't have built those relationships, and we wouldn't still be friends with them where we are right now.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that's a big one. Probably one of the biggest reasons I got out of real estate is the relationships were so much harder than I thought they were going to be.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in a community our size.
I know, it's insane. It's like, if you don't do everything you can to make someone feel like you did your very best, it doesn't take long to shut you down.
Yeah.
No, it really doesn't. And then, there's always one that, some little tiny mistake that could have happened to any realtor, and they're going to go all over town and tell them what a horrible realtor you are. And nobody ever hears the good. They only hear the bad once there's bad out there, which luckily I didn't really have that problem, but I saw it a lot. And I was like, I don't want to get to that point, because I'm too involved in my community to want to have that type of something hanging over me. So
yeah,
I was really happy to be able to change careers this year.
Yeah.
Or embrace my second job,
Right.
So, my favorite question for everybody who comes on the show is, what does keep growing mean to you?
Keep growing?
Yeah.
Okay. Keep growing to me is something I live by anyways. When I was growing up, we didn't have much. My parents did the best they could, but I have watched my mom keep growing. She's continually trying to do better. And my dad, he tried. He bought his own truck at one point, drove truck for himself. And so, but I think if we're not, then we're just getting stagnant. I don't think we're on this earth to be stagnant necessarily. I think we're here to enjoy it. But I think with the little time we're given, we should make the biggest impact that we can with as many people as we can and make as many relationships as possible.
That's wonderful. I don't know that I was expecting that answer. Like, that kind of got me a little bit.
I mean, growth to me isn't necessarily like making more money. It's being more of myself than I have been for either my kids and my community or all of the above.
I get it. That was the reason I even came up with this, is after a year-long horrible postpartum where I realized that I wasn't being the person that I wanted to be anymore, which is that's when I decided that it was time I had stopped growing and I needed to embrace that. And that's what got me to where I'm at right now. And so I want to remind everybody of that every opportunity I get.
Yeah.
So do you guys want to tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah. So I have a website for our water locating company. It's www.americanwaterlocators.com.
Writing that down.
And that website has my phone number and email, so people can get a hold of me. That.
Yeah, coffee.
But I was going to say, and you mentioned your coffee. Do you guys want to talk? We have some time. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your coffee before we wrap it up.
Yeah. So
we do fair trade organic coffee. We've been doing it for I think it's more. How long have we been doing it?
I don't know, like 10 years.
10 years or something. And we just recently started a new company called Norse Roots Roasters. And we're using a lot of the profit for our trips to Guatemala. We have a trip planned hopefully in November to go back to Guatemala.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So we're pretty excited about it. We haven't pushed our coffee. I've done small amounts of our coffee around here, but we haven't pushed a lot of it since we moved here because I had a baby and did a lot of the coffee pushing, even though he did the roasting. So we just needed to get settled, and now we're doing that. So we really enjoy that. And then out of nowhere, Steven started a blog. Or not a blog, a video blog. I don't know what you would call it.
YouTube
It's
channel.
a vlog. Vlog.
We're gonna see if just see how that goes. It's just for fun, really.
It's for fun.
Yeah.
For family, friends,
right.
Whatever happens.
But it's actually been fun.
It has been fun.
Yeah. So
that's exciting. I'm gonna definitely link that in the show notes.
So what's funny about the coffee is I mean, yeah, maybe. People all the time are like, so wait, you spend a bunch of time roasting coffee and basically don't pay yourself so that you can go down to Guatemala and not get paid. And I'm like, that sums it up. Yeah. I work for free so that I can go work for free. And
I get that as a farmer. But the way we do it in our community is we started, nice. Yeah. Make sure that gets shown in my notes. And I love your new logo. It's awesome.
Through the logo.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
But
know.
yeah, like farmer, when we decided to start raising hogs is our kids were doing 4-H down in Oregon, and we wanted to get some show pigs for them, and we paid $350 a piece for show pigs.
Wow.
And we were just like flabbergasted at the price. I mean, people always joke, like, I remember when I did fair pigs, I paid $50 a piece for them. Okay, yeah, that was 20 years ago. So, but I still felt like it was just too much. I feel like, because I would turn around in the fall, they'd be selling the same piglets, same breed, everything for $150, $200. And I was like, this is ridiculous. You're just price gouging 4-H kids because you can. And yeah, there is more that goes into them. And I do charge my 4-H kids more for pigs, but I'm like 25 or 50 more just to cover the extra shots that are required for fair and the extra follow-up I do with all the kids. But because we'll if they need a medication or something, rather than this kid having to go and buy like a big old thing of it from North 40, I'll just run down to their house and handle it for them and stuff. And so, but I mean, my cost is only to cover my additional costs, but that's why we started raising the hogs, is so that we could provide them more to 4-H kids. And then we also donate 2 whole hogs a year to something in the county that's happening. Like this year we did it for the fireworks.
Nice.
Everybody who donated more than $50 for the fireworks got a ticket towards one of our hogs.
Well, that's awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, I mean, we do a lot of that where our farm pretty much, some days it only covers our farm, but we're okay with that because what we know we're doing for the community.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We actually started we're doing sheep, and we decided to get a ram because every year when I would go to buy sheep, it was harder and harder to get them. And, we ended up getting them from the same places as the 4-H places, and the prices were going up from other people and stuff. And so we were like, you know what, let's just have a few, breed them. And if we have extras, we can sell them, or we can just, share.
Yeah.
That's my husband actually just decided he's always hated lamb and goat from when he was in Iraq.
Yeah.
And so he finally tried some lamb recently that was, it didn't even taste like lamb to me. And I've eaten a lot of lamb and goat. And he was like, okay, it's decided, we're doing a lamb every year now. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I mean, I don't really want to raise sheep because I kind of hate sheep.
Yeah.
Depends on how it's processed. Everything we do tastes great. So
it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're goats too, but we're doing them for milk, and we've decided it's too hard for us to harvest them because they're so cute.
They're like little puppies.
Have to sell them now. We are like, we can't do it.
Lambs are pretty cute too, but by the time you remove their head from the fence 27,000 times, you're like, congratulations, you get a one-way trip to freezer camp.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Can you tell I've raised lambs before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although we have the same thing with rogue pigs. Like if you're not going to be nice, or you're not going to stay in your confinement, or you're going to be a pain to us in any way, they'll end up in freezer camp or getting sold to somebody else who's willing to deal with their issues. So
right.
For sure.
Yeah, there's not enough time when you're as busy as as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have time to mess around.
Yeah.
You don't know. And we have a lot of hogs, and if we have one that's a problem, it causes the other ones to be a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they're like, oh, she made it over the electric fence, maybe we should try too. And next thing I know, I have 50 hogs in my front yard.
Yeah, that's great.
Not fun.
So much. Like we've had to completely redo our lawn this year because we had that issue over the winter, and the hot wire was frozen in the snow. So
oh shoot.
We couldn't even fix it. So we're like, I guess we free range pigs now.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I can happening. I can. Yeah.
Anything that says free range is way more expensive. So.
So yeah, I raise free range pigs. That'll be $2,000 a hog.
Yeah, exactly.
Just so I can cover the cost of replacing my lawn.
Seriously.
It's good we're on 40 acres, but the poor UPS guy probably thinks we're crazy because there's always some new animal wandering in our driveway. So
trying to get into his truck.
Yeah.
Yes, we have had pigs and dogs trying to get into the truck at the same time.
Yeah.
So, all right. So how can everybody find your coffee?
It's a Square site,
Okay.
and can I send it to you later?
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
I'll just link it in the show notes once I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that's amazing what you're doing. And I know your coffee's good. So I really hope that
We have like a little thing.
Oh, yeah. I'll send you this QR code, or
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll send you something with it.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds great. So everybody make sure you go check out what Steven and Jessalyn are doing with their water company and with Norse Roots coffee. And if you want more information on how to buy vacant land, I'll link in the show notes my free guide to buying vacant land. Thank you guys for coming on today.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you for
thanks.
having us.
Did you enjoy today's episode? If so, please head over to your favorite podcast player and leave a comment and review. This helps me to know what you're enjoying and helps others find an episode that can help them. Thank you for joining me today at the Homestead Education, and I hope that I have given you something to think about this week. To help others find me, please comment and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. You can also follow me on Facebook at the Homestead Education and Instagram at Homestead_education. Do you have questions that you would like answered or just want to say hi? Please email me at hello@thehomesteadeducation.com. Until next time, keep growing.